Hello to everyone. I'm Mona Lisa Joshi, and this is Midnight Poetry Cafe segment. We have started it. It's totally new, and we are doing some live. This is just a thought that we have, brought to reality thanks to the guest today. I'm planning to do many lives with poets, published poets, and also people who are interested in poetry who would like to come and only read. Even if they are not poets, they can read out their favorite poets. So that segment is also there. So this video is going to be uploaded on Midnight Poetry Cafe, my new channel dedicated to poetry. So hi and welcome all. I would like to invite my guest, Kirti V, who is a poet. Hi Kirti, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mona Lisa ma'am. It's a real honor to be here, and thank you. And glad that I'm the first guest. So yeah, excited.
Absolutely. I'm truly honored to have you because this is such a new channel right now. So I was kind of, like hesitant to even ask that people sometimes, watch, okay, how many subscribers are there? So I was like a bit hesitant, but you accepted and came. I'm so happy and really honored. Thankful to you.
My pleasure, absolute pleasure.
So, Kirti, to begin with, I would really love to know that since you are a poet, I'm sure you must have read many poems before you started and delving into writing. So, there must be some poem or one poem that is your favorite, like close to your heart.
Okay.
Is there any such
Uh,
poem?
oh, there are actually I can't say one. There are so many since I read across languages. So I read in English, Hindi, Malayalam, and Tamil. So every language has probably I have a favorite poet or a favorite poem to name. Like Wordsworth and Robert Frost are few of my favorite poets in English, and Wordsworth's poems are like they really mean a lot, or they really connect. I really connect with Wordsworth's poem on nature. Then, if I go to Hindi, I enjoy reading Harivansh Rai Bachchan's poems or Subhadra Kumari Chauhan's poems, reading and reciting. Same goes with Malayalam and Tamil. There's more of a freedom poet or Subramanya Bharatiya. I really love his poems, which are full with the motivational lines. And I mean, every time I read, I get goosebumps when I read those poems. And Malayalam also has poets like Kumaran Ashan or Vallatol, whose poems are more connected because I am from Kerala. So I connect with the surroundings or with the premise that the poem is built on. So, if I come back to English and if I have to say the one poem which really close, I would say two poems. I mean, three rather. Two of William Wordsworth and one of Robert Frost, which I keep, which keeps running in my mind. One is The Daffodils and The Solitary Reaper by William Wordsworth, and the other one would be Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost.
Yeah.
So the last four lines of that poem is my tagline in Facebook, and most of my email signatures have those four lines. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So that's something which kind of is like motivates us to keep moving and not get stuck at at one single instance or one single site. But there is a lot more for us to see in life, and you keep moving. So Solitary Reaper, Stopping by the Woods, and Daffodils would be my top pick in English. Yeah.
And if we talk about modern poets, like poets of these times, do you have any favorite?
Okay, I have read poems of Maya Angelou, which I really like, where the way she blends in the differences that are seen around the world in her poems. I really love the way she portrays those writings. I mean, those thoughts, like where she talks about being black and being discriminated, and how the way she compares that with the caged bird, especially the caged bird poem. So I would probably name Maya Angelou as the more inspiring recent poets. Yeah.
Okay. So when did you start writing poetry?
Okay, so I would say the pandemic is what put me into writing. I used to write here and there, but not a structured way of writing. If something really touches my heart, that is when I pen it down in some way or the other. But the pandemic is what really brought out the writing in me. I should say that one of my friends, she put me into a poetry group in Facebook. And initially, I was just a observer. I mean, I just was observing how they write and what they write. And slowly, I started writing. And probably during that time when we were all stuck inside, this proved to be a way of, an escape route, or a small trick to maintain the sanity, because we were all within the four walls and no social
Right.
interaction and those kind of stuff. So at that time, this became more like a therapy, or it became more, no, it was like a catharsis for me when I started. Then people read and they encouraged me to write. Then I started writing more, and that ended up in the 3 books that I have under my name. But I started writing for anthologies, so you give a theme and you write on that. So I think the pandemic is what brought out the poet or the writer in me.
Hmm. And when did you feel that, okay, it's time that I go and publish my books?
I mean, frankly speaking, I still feel poetry has lesser takers as readers when it comes to a prose or when it comes to a story. You would know better because you have been publishing both poetry collections and stories, right?
Yes.
So I was very, very skeptical about publishing my work. See, you share a link or you put it on WhatsApp or you put it on Facebook. People reading and commenting is one thing, but buying
Yes.
is a completely different ball game altogether, right? So I was but I had the backing of my friends, my family, who said, "No, you go ahead and publish. There'll be people to read." So I just went with the flow of people talking, and I just went ahead and published it. Then when one book I published and I garnered some attention, or I found that my words are garnering some attention. Plus,
Right.
working in the school probably gave me a venue. I gave the books to my library, and where and so many of my friends who agreed to buy my books. So that probably gave me the confidence that okay, probably they are worth publishing, and we should go ahead and publish. Yeah, so that would probably what has motivated me.
Lovely. So, talking about poetry, I'm sure you've already mentioned that you have read and you read across languages. So, I'm sure there must be some favorite book also that you like keep it close to your heart. So, is there any particular book, and would you suggest or recommend it to readers, and why they should read it?
Poetry books, frankly speaking, my poem reading is all limited to what I read up online, or when I end up teaching my students what I read from there. But even then, I would probably, I have read and I would probably encourage people reading Tagore's collection of poems. I feel they are really good, even though they are translated works. Both I have not read the Bengali ones, but I've read the translated ones. And poems of Kumaran Ashan, like how I told, the poet from Kerala, the way he has mixed the socio-political situation around him into his blog poem, and he has challenged all our the theories of feminism and all those things in his poems way back in the early 19th and early 20th century. I feel the way they have written that really matters a lot. So yeah, so
True.
probably Tagore's work or Kumaran Ashan's work, if we are able to read that in the original language, the Malayalam or in Bengali, I think that would make a big difference. If you ask me for a prose suggestion, off late I think I've completed reading 2 books of Khalid Hosseini. So I really like the way he has portrayed his stuff, and so yeah, I would say probably you can give a try reading those.
True. Well said. Tagore's poems are definitely very evocative and a good read for those who are just maybe starting into poetry.
Right.
They could
Right.
start with Tagore. So that
Tagore,
creates
or
an
even
impact, and
Sarojini Naidu for that matter. Sarojini
Yes,
Naidu's
yes.
poems are also very simple and easy flowing.
Hmm.
Be it the Coromandel Fishers or the Harvest Hymn. Those are very you can connect with them on a very personal basis. Yeah.
That's true. So, Kirti, you have also published your book, so we would like to talk about those here. So, tell me what are the titles of your book, and also please read something from your book
Okay, the
because
first
this
book
is
or
a
my book.
poetry place.
Yeah. So the first book, my book baby, is called Tides of Life. The reason why I gave the
Okay.
title Tides of Life because the whole book contains poems from different stages of life, or it conveys a lot of emotions. And I try to keep the language very simple because my whole intention is anyone who picks up my book and reads it should be able to understand what is being written. So if I have heard this from so many people who have read my poem that they are able to connect with it, or it's very simple to understand. No, so I try to keep it in a very simple language.
Simple.
I'm not against ornated words, or I'm not against those no big words,
Yeah.
but I use them only when it is really needed. Otherwise, I just try to play around with the simplest words that we have. So the first book is titled Tides of Life. I have the copy here, if I can show it. So this has around 23 to 25 poems, not more than a page. So each poem comes up till one page only, and it's all more about what I have seen around, what I have observed, or my journey, or whatever I've seen as a mother, as a woman, or as a teacher. So it's all more of my personal. All the three books have a personal connect. Like, all the three books have a common factor of one poem about my grandfather, my paternal grandfather. He's no more around us, but a man of such simplicity that I couldn't resist writing about him, and he becomes a common factor in all my three books. Then nature, yes, it is there in all the three books. Since I am a teacher, my interaction with students, my classroom anecdotes, those do get converted into poems. The silliest conversations, or the no heartfelt conversations that my students have with me, or I have with them, that converts into a no poem. So these are the major themes that I've tried to cover in all the three poetry books. So the first one, as I said, is Tides of Life. The second one is From My Pen, and the last
Oh,
one
this
is
is a lovely.
Poetic Pearls. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of that to no show it on the show. I don't have a copy with me right now. So that one has more. That has around 75 to 80 poems. So that is a bigger collection, where the other two are like 23 to 25 poems. So yeah, so if I have to read, I'll probably start from the first book, that is Tides of Life. So this, the recent review for this, one of my friend named Lalita, she reviewed, and she personally connected with two poems. So I would read one of that now, and then probably go ahead with something else. Okay.
Sure.
So this poem is titled Of Being an Adult.
Okay.
Okay, so the poem goes like this. Oh, those were the days of desktops and desk phones. And holding a cell phone was really unknown. Getting one, that too as a gift. Oh, the feeling was surreal. As my heart fluttered in glee. My hands shivered as I, for the first time, held my Nokia 2233. A prized possession it was in an era when mobiles were at large. I felt all grown up and mature as I had a phone in my hand. So this goes back the day I think I got my first phone as a gift, and those days of Nokia, I think the current generation will not even connect with, right?
Yeah.
So this was just a thought that came in my mind when I started writing. Okay, something which is priceless for us, and holding on to a mobile phone at that point of time when it was all desktops and desk phones. So that was the inspiration to write this poem.
Okay.
So this is one, and I think the other one more poem which many people liked from the first book was Me, the Familiar Stranger. This is the title of the poem. Her beauty and stride, her confidence and passion, her stances and stealing glances, her eloquence and dancing spree. "Oh, didn't you admire them all?" asked a voice to me. "She does look familiar, I must admit, my dear. I'm lost in thoughts, trying to recall." And the cooker whistled, bringing me back to my senses. I looked at the mirror in the front, and there she was, whom I admired. It was me, lost in my mundane chores. The mirror showed me, and I became my own familiar stranger. So
Lovely.
this is one poem which many of them appreciated or they could connect with, because I think we lose ourselves in our daily routine, and
Yes,
no, you need that one push
true.
or one somebody to say that, come on, you can do this. So yeah, this is another poem from my first book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
So,
should I go ahead? Yeah.
I want to ask one thing. I see the simplicity of your poem. That's quite understandable. That you might have thought in this way that even your students, they could also read and understand, and you also feel, kind of that the poems would resonate with them. But since you are an English teacher, and I'm sure you must have read a lot of literature, so did not it ever occur to you that someday you might also want to write in a way that like classic poets used to write, using sometimes the archaic language? So did it ever occur to you, or you feel comfortable writing in this simple and flowy language and free verse,
No,
as we say these?
I do try to write in the archaic language, but somehow that doesn't come to me naturally.
Hmm.
So if it so happens that writing in a simplest form comes to me naturally, but I did try
Hmm.
to write. I don't think I would have written much, but I did try to write a ballet which requires, or a pastoral poem which requires a archaical language. I did try that, but
Yeah.
somehow no, it doesn't flow into me very no naturally. I feel poems should come to us in a natural way.
Naturally.
It
Yes.
shouldn't be forced upon, and that connect I don't feel when I write
Yeah.
using some no
Hmm. Hmm.
certain kind of words. So I try to use synonyms many a times, where I can replace a word with a synonyms that adds on to our vocabulary, but somehow this doesn't occur. Or probably when I am quoting some historical incident or something, yes, I do go back and research, and I try to use the words that were used during that period to bring in that feel and effect. But otherwise, I think I am comfortable writing this way. That's how I would put it. I'm not against those words
No,
or
no.
those usages.
The reason I asked this question is because when I first brought out my first poem, I was just, freshly I had completed my masters, and I was totally into that kind of zone, of writing archaic form of language. So I used a lot of this, thou, and thee everywhere, and then a lot of layering, metaphors, similes everywhere. So it became quite tough. So when the book came out and I got the review, so people actually said that the language was tough. So I feel that this is better. Nowadays it's always good that we write in the free verse style and in the flowy and simple language, because readers can connect easily, because everybody might not be a literature reader or like into books. So if they pick up, they should easily connect. So that's why I agree with your point that you are using a simple language.
Thank you.
But I was just curious that does it kind of, occur to you, because since you are into teaching and English, and somewhere, deep down you keep on teaching, you also feel inspired that, you might also want to try your hand in this way also.
Yeah, so I do. At times, I am kind of really, no, tempted to write. I would love to try a sonnet at some point of time. Somehow that no iambic pentameter doesn't, no,
Yeah.
get in through my brain. When it comes to writing, when it comes to reading, I'm comfortable reading an iambic pentameter or iambic tetrameter or whatever it is. But when it comes to writing that, getting that tardum kind of flow, it doesn't just come naturally. So it's not that I am hesitant. I mean, I do want to try. I try. I mean, I am a person who wants to try different poetic styles, like poetry forms.
Yes.
But somehow these ones where you really use some ornated words or goes with a lot of no syllables and rules and no
Yeah.
somehow I am not able to I don't know. I don't know how to put it across. Somehow it doesn't come to me naturally. That's
And
that's
that's
how I
fine.
would
It's
say.
fine. Everybody has their own style, and I also
Right.
feel that you should be comfortable in your skin. And secondly, when you're writing, it should come out naturally from within you, not you. You know, like just you said, we should not be pressurized to write. So it should come out naturally, and you should feel light after putting out those emotions. So that should be the goal of writing to us.
Right. Right.
So, talking on this note, I want to ask you one more thing. Since you said that you are also writing for like groups and here and there. So these days, you I don't know. I think you must have heard haiku and haibun is also very much popular. So have you ever tried that you might write one, or you have already written something?
Now, haikus I have written a lot. Haikus and so I love to play around with haikus. So I have written a lot of haikus. Haibun I haven't tried, even though I'm tempted to try. Somehow I have not tried it yet. But I would try something in the near future. But I have written a lot of haikus. I've tried acrostic a lot of times because that happens to be one of my favorite way of writing. So acrostic, yes, I have written a lot, and then
I guess that kind of form that where you use the alphabets. I guess that is how it is done.
yeah. So the alphabet, the first word of first alphabet of every line spells out that particular theme. So if I write on kindness, my poem's first letters will spell out kindness. So that is something which I love to write. So even now for yesterday for Sankranti, that's Pongal way out. I wrote an acrostic for Pongal. So I try to write acrostic wherever possible. So that's one of my favorite style of writing. Then I really love the way villanelle is written, the poetry style villanelle, where there's a refrain, and that refrain brings out the the essence of the poem, where you are repeating a statement again and again to bring out the best out of it. So haikus and refrains are kind of something which I have written a lot. I mean haikus and villanelle. So yes, haikus I've tried a lot. Haikus and even tanka I used to write a couple of times, but I don't think I've written anything off late. But haikus, yeah, I have written a lot.
I'm a total novice when it comes to haiku. I've never tried it because I feel I'm not able. I wouldn't be able to express enough because I guess it ends in 3 or 4 lines or some syllables. So
Right.
it's really difficult to express myself. So I feel okay, at least some 20 to 30 lines I need and free verse because I've stopped rhyming. Also, I've stopped the stanza format, which I did in my earlier books. So that's why I feel free verse is quite comfortable.
Haikus, yes, I've tried. Haibun is again a new for. I'm a novice when it comes to Haibun. Haikus, I feel, yeah, since it is 575 and 3 lines, as you say, yeah, it's difficult to express something really, no, deep with those 3 lines. But I have read so many people expressing a lot of stuff with those 3 lines. So I really wonder how do they do it. But yeah, so I think it is not that. I mean, I would say probably when you are really seasoned, you will be able to express even with three
Yeah,
lines.
it's about first you have to understand the craft, you have to read a lot, and maybe then you practice. I guess
Right.
this might be of help. Of course, because
Correct.
who is a starter who doesn't even know has to read a lot first. So I'm
And
totally novice
without any
there.
articles over there, because you try to avoid all this a, an, and the in when it comes to haiku, because that takes away one syllable. So, for a new person who's reading that, how do they express that in these 3 words is something which is really, I mean, surprising for them without all this the's and a's and ands. How are you able to express? So that becomes something which is really,
Challenging, of course.
yeah.
So read something more. You have 2 books. Read something from your second book.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, so this is from my second book, From My Pen. And okay. Um, so this poem is titled We Are Safe. Okay, it goes like this. Borders are their homes, be it land, water, or air. Families are unknown, but battalions are. Their heart carries their pride, the tricolor, their mother. Protecting her is their motto from time immemorial. They swear by the fighters whose blood cleansed our soil. Each drop shed for freedom has bloomed into courage. Clad in olive green, pristine white, or smart sky blue, and weapons in hand complete their official look. They, unscathed by the presence of the enemy, send shivers to them with their mere presence. Their eyes don't close for us to sleep peacefully. Their ears don't cease to hear for us to hear our children. Their arms don't give away under the heavy artillery for us to help our family. Salutes to the protectors who guard us throughout. Their presence give us the courage to say we are safe. So this is a small one, a tribute to all our soldiers at the borders, be it the air, water, or the land. Yeah, so that is something which I would say that I would like to use my poems to give tributes to the selfless service rendered by them, or the doctors, or teachers for that matter, because I think words aren't enough to thank them. But if
Right.
we can do that with our words through our books, yes, why not?
Absolutely.
And okay, so I'm just looking what else can I read from this one. Okay, this is something which is kind of my experience with the students, I would say. So, an empathetic conversation. Came crying a pencil one day to an eraser that lay beside him. The pencil sobbed and said, "Why am I here, subjected to torture every moment?" "See how lucky you are," he retorted to the eraser, "that you aren't shaved or knifed." The eraser slowly spoke with a voice as sweet as a nightingale. "Oh, my dear pencil, what makes you think my life is better? If you're shaved or knifed, I'm rubbed against surfaces plenty. From smooth papers to broken desks, I'm mercilessly used. Do you now think I live better?" The pencil sniffled and said, "Oh, my dear, I didn't realize that. We both are the same, tortured and troubled. Let's join hands and stay together in the box till we find the bin." So, a small thing based on the conversation between a pencil and an eraser. I don't know if this
Yeah.
is really worth writing on, but somehow I felt that
No, so they're
you know,
they're cute, and they're like very relatable. If like, I'm thinking from the point of view of middle grades also, if they read, they will also easily understand. So I think
right.
you have done a good job. That with simple, you have thought from their way of thinking also, that how they will find it easily understandable or not. So it's good.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And anything else you want to say, like poetry? You still want to write more poems on poetry books, or you want to delve someday maybe into fiction as well?
I would want to delve into fiction. I am so tempted with two thoughts that are running in my mind, but I don't know how that. I mean, how that will get converted into a probably a 2,000 word or a 3,000 word story, which I'm still doubtful about. But yeah, given a choice, I would again go back to writing a poem, because in the first two books I had not classified stuff into no either the themes or the way it is written. Whereas in the third book, I did classify them into different genres or different themes, like one on nature, one on children. So I classified them into that, and I also tried to work around a lot of different writing formats. So I have written, I have written an acrostic, I have written limericks, so many limericks, that too on a day-to-day no conversation. Like being a teacher, when you start correcting a notebook, you have so many stuff that comes out, and that came out as a limerick in one of my poem in the third book. So I can read that one second.
Sure.
So this book, I don't have the copy, so I'm just opening the soft one. And I also like to write on incidents that happen or people who have lived and know the legends or happenings like the Jallianwala Bagh or
Yeah.
the Kargil War or be it people like Dr. Kalam or no.
Hmm.
So I would, I mean, I love to write on those aspects as well. If that becomes like a learning, if that can be added as an add-on when you are teaching a particular topic, then yes, I would. I really, I mean, write about those also, like the no nuclear bombing in Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II, or our Chandrayaan no landing on August 23rd. So all those things have come up into my poems. I have even written one on Shakespeare. So I'll read the limerick and then come back to Shakespeare. So because that's also kind of a little funny take with a format called Clerihew. That's a humorous way of writing a poem. So I'll just read the limerick and come back to Clerihew.
Okay.
Just a second. Okay, so this poem is titled A Teacher's Woes, as in the troubles. What on earth is that? An A or O? Can you tell me, or is it a no? I'm not able to read this. Is it my age or a miss? A teacher's correction woes, you know. So this is a limerick, which is just a 5-line poem, and it's supposed to be humorous. So I have brought in the aspect of the handwriting that we end up reading when we correct a notebook. So that is so I did read this out to my students and they had a hearty laugh. So I understood that they could connect to what I was writing. So I think that that really works. And yeah, so one more I had. Okay, so this is again another limerick. Dressed in pristine white, all symbolic, wedding bells rang in fun and frolic. He drew her closer for a kiss. His shaven cheek she didn't miss. A slap followed by "You smell of garlic." So this was again. I mean, I don't know how I got this idea, but probably I would have watched some movie where the bride and the groom were asked to kiss, and that would have tempted me to write this way. But this is something which you can connect to right now. Most of us, even though we eat garlic, we hate the smell of garlic when someone comes closer to us.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll just go back to that Shakespeare. I think so. This poem is where you introduce your person that you're writing on, and then proceed and build upon that person in a funny way. So, okay, so oh God. Okay, the poem is titled The Bard, as in B-A-R-D. That's how we call Shakespeare, right? He was called Avon's Bard, and he made students' life hard. His sonnets with iambic pentameter, even now, is an ungauged parameter. Students feel that his comical plays are nothing but a mistaken identity maze. He, a playwright, they oft wonder, as for them, his plays are a blunder. The king of poetry and speech, the more you read, his work becomes a leech. They make you stay glued on that they becoming a leech I can't forgone. So this interaction happened with my students when I was teaching one of Shakespearean's play, and they really thought that it's just a mistaken identity. What is there so funny about it? And we claim Shakespeare to be a comical, a writer who has written a lot of comical plays. So I took that as a cue, and that is how this poem was born. So, as I said, these interactions end up in my words so many times.
Okay. So I can understand that while teaching, I'm sure you must be getting ideas and suddenly inspirations come to you. So what do you do when suddenly something strikes in your mind and you have to write it down somewhere and you have nothing? So how do you keep that thought intact in your mind?
Okay, so now since thanks to our modern day gadgets, if I'm carrying the mobile, I right away note it down, at least the points. Else that I keep reiterating that in my mind till I find a place to sit and scribble it down on a piece of paper. It could be the behind of a notebook where I scribble with a pencil and erase it later on. Or sometimes I do get thoughts when I'm cooking and I'm really not in a position to leave that and move across. So that's when I keep playing it in a loop in my mind till I find a place to sit and then no bring it out onto a piece of paper or type it onto my phone. But I keep
Right.
reiterating that in my mind so that it stays in my mind till I find a place to sit and write. Because I don't have a set pattern of writing, to be very honest. I used to write when I travel in the bus, so it's a 30-minute long journey, 30 to 45 minutes depending on the traffic. So onward and return when I travel is sometimes when I write. Otherwise, it might be just randomly I get a thought, and if I'm in a position to sit and write, I write. So I don't have a set pattern like, okay, daily half an hour I should spend in writing. I really wish to bring in that habit, but that doesn't happen. So I have promised myself that at least once a week or twice in a week, I should write something. So that I try to do, thanks to most of the weekly challenges that comes in many of the poetry groups that I'm part of. So that at least ensures that I keep writing. And this National Poetry Writing Month is where most of the writing happens. Like you write for all the 30 days in the month of April, right? So at least in that, so even if I'm part of two groups, I end up coming up with 60 poems, which I think is a good exercise for the mind. So yeah, so that is when I write every day. Otherwise, it's like just set up to twice a week or once a week.
But that's a good discipline. I think you're balancing it well.
Thank you.
So, to conclude, I would like to ask this thing that since you have 3 poetry books and you still plan to write more poetry books and bring them out, what poetry means to you? If you have to say it in your personal experience way, or maybe like how do you feel that poetry is a thing for you in this world?
See, for me, poetry is the best way to express myself. That is what I think about it. No matter what the theme I'm writing about, I don't need 1,000 words to express what I think or what I feel. I can do that in, say, 20 words. And if that touches the other person's heart, there lies the victory of a poet. So for me, poetry is the flow of emotions in bare minimum words. So that's what poetry is to me.
Lovely. And I would also try to give out something from my point of view. Like I would say that poetry is, more like a dreamy kind of world where you can experience fantasy, where you can experience love, where you can experience so many things. And on that
Absolutely.
note, with your permission, I would like to read a small poem by Edgar Allan Poe. He is one of my favorites. So this one is called A Dream Within a Dream.
Yeah.
Take this kiss upon the brow, and in parting from you now, thus much let me avow you are not wrong who deem that my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less gone, all that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amid the roar of a surf tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep, while I weep. O God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? O God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream?
So nice, right? And I really envy the way he has balanced himself from writing Gothic to writing poems,
Absolutely.
right? If we can be at least 1% of the way he has, he has handled both prose and poetry, I don't think anyone has done much better than Poe.
Absolutely. And if I have to talk about this thing, poetry and prose combining, I would really recommend you one book you would surely enjoy. It's called C by Anupama Raju. The book's name is A Capital C. So
Okay.
C is basically a sunless city where she goes, the protagonist goes, and then she experiences many things. There's no daylight there. It's always nighttime. And how beautifully she has written through poetry her whole experience. The protagonist is writing. It's written in first person. I will definitely recommend you read that book. You'll love it.
I will catch C, right? C by Anupama Raju. I'll find out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll try to get the book and read it.
It was easily available on Amazon. Yeah.
I'll find out. I'll find out. Thank you for the suggestion.
Okay. So, thank you, Kirti, for joining me today. It was lovely talking to you, knowing so many forms of poetry from you because I am still a novice, as I said. When you meet new people, meet new poets, you get to know so many things. So I will also, try to understand what's haiku, what's haibun. Maybe someday I might also try my hand out. And for now, I wish you all the very best in your poetic journey. May you grow wings and feathers in this field and become a notable poet. I'm sure you must have by now because so many of your friends must have read you, and I think that's quite a big satisfaction when your peers, when your friends start appreciating your work. So,
Right.
wishing you all the very best. Thank you so much for being part of Midnight Poetry Cafe. This video will be soon out there on my channel. And please, if there are any poets known to you, let them know about this. Maybe they can also be
Right.
part of this journey.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was such a lively and interactive session. And wishing Midnight Poetry Cafe many more episodes with many more noted poets, and I'll be there as one of the viewers for all your videos that come up. And wishing you all the best. And yes, let's. I will for sure recommend this to many of my friends. I think most of them you also know since we write across groups. So I will for sure recommend this to them as well. Good luck to you for your poetry group as well as the prose, the fiction group that you are starting on the other
Thank
side.
you.
So wishing you all the very best for both the groups, and hope to see you around sometime. Thank you.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, bye, bye. Take care. Have a great evening.
You too. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.